Around after my first communion, I reached a point where I had it's funny how certain people will just sort of stick in your mind. I had a faith formation teacher, called it CCD at the time, whose name escapes me, but I remember him being a very crusty and gruff Irish Catholic who was very frank about how unworthy people were of God's love. And he's talking to this with second graders. So it had enough of an impact on me that I started to question. I feel bad that I can't, that's the memory that I latch on to. But around that same time, teenagerhood begins to come along, and when my mother offered me the option to continue going to faith formation or to sleep in on Sundays, I picked the second one. And so I didn't know where I was for a little while. And then I came on pagan documentation and writings, and they resonated with me. I've always been someone who's been very comfortable in nature and enjoyed being outside, so they made a connection with me. And during high school, I was a self-initiated Wiccan of an Italian line, and studied it and was very deep into it for a long time, right into my college years. And it wasn't until after college that things shifted again, because I started to think that something wasn't right, and I knew it. I was missing something. It's hard to describe. That relationship that I've had with God, I've always talked to God. Even when I was pagan, I was always very close to God. I wasn't addressing him properly at the time, but was always sort of asking for guidance and connecting and being in that place with God. But at that point, after college, I realized I was missing something. Something was wrong. And so I started searching through. I started where I was comfortable and started looking at other branches of paganism. None of those had the answer. I looked at other religious branches in general, and while there are parts of truth in all of them, none of them were right to me. So I had a period of time, a very short period of time, blessedly, that I spent as an atheist out of frustration trying to connect just with science, and it was probably one of the most sour periods of all of my belief, because I actually could compare it to having a fight with someone that you love and refusing to speak with them, and being upset because you want to speak with them, and there's that part inside of you that's saying, go talk, go fix this, but you come up with rationales and reasons and pride, and I'm not gonna. And finally, I said, I can't do this anymore. This is not working. This is wrong. That, and I was, of all of the, I was connecting with communities as I'm going through. And of all of the communities I connected with, and this is not at all universal, but the one community that I connected with that was an atheist community was about as rabid as any very deeply fundamentalist anything that I had experienced. Probably to a reaction to a lot of mistreatment by other people. But they were so absolutely clear of, we are right, you are wrong, that turned me off almost as quickly as the fact that I knew it was wrong. I'd been having conversations with God in some way or another my entire life. I have to start again, is what struck me during that. So I staved off of that and started to try and figure out where I fit again. And it wasn't until the baptism of my children that it clicked. We waited with both of my kids for a while before we baptized them because my wife was raised Catholic and has had her own challenges with faith. And she was a little more clear that she wanted them baptized, and knew it was important to her family. I was very clear that I wanted them to be able to discover who they were going to be without outside effect. And then one day I had a moment of, you know what, we're baptizing them. I couldn't tell you what pushed me that way. I could tell you now what pushed me that way, I should say. I couldn't tell you then what pushed me that way. So we went to church and had them baptized. And for the first time in a long time, that spiritual place in me connected. Something clicked, and it was like coming home.